Welcome to Local World TV on the Geopolitico.com for August 16th, 2010. Today I wanted to begrudgingly address directly the mosque wars that are ongoing in the United States. Now, this is quickly becoming an election issue, especially after President Obama declared his support for the right of different Muslim groups to build a mosque in Lower Manhattan. Quickly after he made the statement at an iftar dinner he held at the White House, Republican John Boehner came out in criticism, as did a number of others. But what has really been sitting with me is a quote from Newt Gingrich a few weeks back. Now, Newt Gingrich is a prominent Republican stalwart and former Speaker of the House. He said, "America is experiencing an Islamist cultural political offensive designed to undermine and destroy our civilization." It was the latest in a series of statements by a number of prominent Republicans and conservatives and media pundits that this mosque issue, this ground zero mosque, so to speak, was almost a Trojan horse weapon in a war against America. Now, before we dissect this opposition and what it means, let's do some background first. What is this ground zero mosque? What is this apocalyptic building being built? Now, first of all, it's a 13-story Islamic center, much in the same spirit as a YMCA or a Jewish community center. There would be an arts and cultural theater, there would be community gathering space, and there would, of course, be a prayer area as well, in addition to other facilities. It's being built by Imam Faisal Abdurrauf, who's a 20-year veteran imam in New York City, whose congregation actually was about 10 blocks away from Ground Zero itself. And he leads something called the Cordova Initiative, which aims to promote interfaith dialogue. Now, Imam Faisal Abdurrauf's latest book is "What's Right with Islam is What's Right with America." This is the person being painted into an extremist. His book is entitled "What's Right with Islam is What's Right with America." In fact, because of his position and his views, he's been tapped by President Bush and President Obama to do outreach to the Muslim world. You know, here's an example, and I hate this term, but here's an example of a quote-unquote moderate Muslim promoting Islam in America, promoting America to Muslims. And he's being painted as the enemy. He is being told that he does not have the right to build a mosque. Now, we can question the sensitivities, and I fully agree that this can be perceived as a provocation by certain people. And there needs to be a dialogue between survivor groups from 9/11 and the builders of this mosque to ensure that these sensitivities are addressed. But fundamentally, in the United States of America, under the Constitution, there's a First Amendment right to religious practice. The litmus test is not the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It doesn't make sense that the United States should point out Saudi Arabia or another country and say, well, if they're not allowing churches to be built with full freedom and they're not giving Christians their full rights, then we do not need to give rights to Muslims. Muslims are a part of America, and America itself is not a religious state. It's a secular state. And to be perfectly frank, America's greatest weapon in the war on terror is not a bunker buster bomb or an F-16 or a nuclear warhead, but it is its freedoms. It is its example. It's its democratic practice that offers a light, a beacon to the rest of the world, and yes, the Muslim world. For all the attacks, for all the demonstrations, for the flag burning, I'm telling you, 95% of Muslims around the world respect, admire, and praise the tolerance in the United States towards other religious groups. People who have come as immigrants to the United States, which are many of the Muslims who would be at this mosque, have come from societies where freedom of speech and freedom of religion are heavily restricted and punishable by jail. It does not make sense that Sarah Palin, that Sean Hannity, that Newt Gingrich want to turn the United States into a theocratic state a la Saudi Arabia. And let's not kid ourselves. This is not a limited movement about Ground Zero. You can go to Tennessee, you can go to California, you can go to Wisconsin, and you're going to find the same vociferous opposition to mosques. In fact, there's a group called Operation Save America that are now running protests across the country, a traveling protest where they visit a different mosque, I believe, each week. They were in Bridgeport, Connecticut just recently, where they protest Islam and protest Muslims as being of the devil and promoting terrorism, etc. There is a group in Florida which is planning on September 11th to burn Qurans. A day to burn Qurans. And I have to ask, who is really giving support to the enemy? Imam Faisal Abdul Rauf. And I'm not even saying anything about whether I support this mosque or its place, so we can go through each interpretation of Imam Faisal Abdul Rauf's position on various religious practices. Put that all aside. This is a man who builds bridges between East and West, who builds bridges between Muslims and non-Muslims, who promotes democracy, who promotes America to the Muslim world. Who is the greater threat to America? Imam Faisal Abdul Rauf? Or the people who say, let's hasten the clash of civilizations. Let's bring about an American state without Muslims. Let's treat Muslims as the enemy. Let's tell them that they're second-class citizens. Let's tell them that America is not about religious tolerance. Who is the greater threat to America? Who is supporting the enemy? I'll tell you that from a counterterrorism perspective, there is no question that Imam Faisal Abdul Rauf is an asset. And in this case, Newt Gingrich, Sarah Palin, and the rest of this gang who are promoting this vociferous opposition really without merit are in fact providing support to those that want to harm America. It sounds harsh, but it's that simple. Well, thank you for joining me on Local World TV today, and join us again next week. Always remember, globalize your mind.